Loving yourself into your future, loving yourself into the process, loving yourself as a means of calling in that thing that you desire on the outside. Because so often we want something because we think getting it is going to change how we feel.
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, and today I'm bringing you a really fun Take the Doughnut interview with Lynn Downey Braswell, who is the founder of Work of Art Coaching, offering holistic support for creatives and professionals, as well as a professional film and TV actor known from projects such as Daisy Jones and the Six, which I do a podcast for, 911, and indie hit The People's Joker. Welcome, Lynn.
Hello. Hi, Melissa.
I'm so excited to talk with you again. Of course, we did have a chance to chat about Daisy Jones and the Six and your work on that show. But once we started talking, we were like, we've got to talk again. So
Yeah,
we're
there's
doing
more
this.
here.
Yeah, there's a lot more to dig into here. And I think this is exactly the right format for it. So I'm so excited to talk about whatever you want to talk about today. But first, I have to ask, what's your favorite donut?
Well, Melissa, today I was on a walk with a friend and we detoured to get a donut. And I don't know if it was because I knew I had the Take the Doughnut podcast that it was already in my brain, or if we were sort of near this one donut place that I love. But I have my favorite donut to show you.
It's you don't even know how rare that actually is on this podcast. I feel like I have a lot of missed opportunities of people actually having donuts with them. But here it is, Lynn.
I know, here it is. And I have to say, too, that like a desire that I have, an intention I hold is to be someone who plans a little bit better. And I'm not that as much in my life. But today it looks like I am. It looks like I did some real intention setting for today. So what we have here is a half-eaten glazed yeast donut.
Yes.
I am a classic girl. I have to say, too, I am so annoyed when people say their favorite ice cream is vanilla. I'm like, boring. But with a donut, classic. Yeast, glazed, simple. Every once in a while I'll go for a coconut or like a cinnamon, but man,
Well, so
bring me
is that
home.
you said that's from your favorite shop?
No, it's just a place that's good.
It's just your favorite type of donut. Okay.
Favorite type of donut. I don't actually think, I don't love certain kinds of donuts. I'm not a huge cake donut fan. But most donut places are great.
I mean, I have yet to find one that I'm like, well, this is terrible. You know, like that's not a thing that I've said about donuts, but there is a surprising amount of variety in what donuts can be. Um, I've learned over the
Yes, I'm
years.
sure.
So it's like, wow, okay. But I have to say, even more so than with like the vanilla ice cream example, I think glazed
Yeah.
donuts can be a popular thing because you like them just by themselves. But a lot of times it's like, well, I like to dunk them in coffee, or
Oh,
like I
sure.
think donuts kind of have a quality to them where they're very combinable.
Like rice. Like rice. You just have that as your
Yeah. Like if somebody says my favorite ice cream is vanilla because they just like to open up a carton and eat vanilla ice cream, then
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
they're a monster. But
I
if
think they're an alien. Yeah.
but if it's like
Like
I'm
my
putting it on
grandmother,
pie.
right? Or my grandmother's like homegrown raspberries on top of vanilla. Take me
Yeah,
home, right? Yeah, or
exactly.
caramel sauce. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
fine.
I think we figured out the line here. It's
All
pretty
right. Okay.
clear.
Yeah. Exactly. Melissa, do your listeners know your favorite donut?
So I have two, but they're basically the same thing, but for different times of my life.
Okay.
So now there's this place called Moon Donuts in Redondo Beach that has the most beautiful display case of donuts, mostly yeast donuts. And they do this one that's like, it's like your regular donut shape, the circle with the hole in the middle, but it's a it's got like chocolate glaze on top, chocolate so filled through the center that they were just like, we don't care that this wasn't meant to be a filled donut. We're just putting all of it in there. And then
Feels good.
on top, they garnish it with a little rectangle of a Hershey bar. Um, so I guess you're getting the theme.
Okay.
So
Got it.
that's the current
Decadent.
favorite donut. When I was a kid, I have really good memories of the Dunkin' Donuts chocolate cream filled. So it's not
Chocolate,
exactly the same donut, but
chocolate.
it's basically the same
The
thing.
grown-up version.
I have now like the elevated version of
Mm-hmm,
what
mm-hmm,
I liked
mm-hmm,
as a
mm-hmm,
kid.
mm-hmm. I will do a shout out to Donut Friend in
Ooh.
LA, Highland Park. I think they're vegan actually, or they might be vegan or they might do a lot of vegans, but they have I think it's a glazed, but then it's a passion fruit cacao topping. So it's this bright yellow with these little chunks that one's pretty hot also.
Hmm.
That's my fancy one. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So
Well, because
I
I
think
think
we
we're
could do the donut thing for the next half an hour, but maybe we pause on talking about
maybe we
donuts.
pause on that. Maybe we pause on that because I'm sure we could be giving each other local recommendations.
Right.
But I think so. I said just a little bit about you up front in your bio, but tell us
Yeah.
more about yourself. Big picture. What should we know about you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Melissa, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me. I just acknowledge you so much for the ways that you are being an example of what's possible in regards to taking the donut, of creating this podcast, of following your joy and doing some rewatch podcasts, right? Like you're just offering beautiful examples of putting your creativity out there into the world and finding ways to serve and also to share what you do as a keynote speaker. So I just am super pumped to get to spend some time with you this
Thank you
afternoon.
for that. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, the my life is really full in this season, and I'm so grateful to have um, followed my dreams of being an actor. I started out as an actor. I did theater in college, and I moved to Los Angeles right after graduation, basically. And I've been here for 20 years this year. I just celebrated 20 years. And I was, very much a Midwestern theater kid who just took me a little while to figure out how to kind of move in this industry in a way that felt like I still am in that process of expanding into my potential and creating what I'm capable of and just collaborating with amazing people. But I've gotten to work as an actor last 10 to 12 real years pretty consistently on TV and film and commercials. And that's been really special and fun. Some theater and some improv and, all the different things. I very much came like I don't know how to do this. I'll try everything. And I'm still finding, what is the most aligned for me as an actor. And through that process and through that journey, I really hit a wall in about year 10 and 11. I think a lot of things were shifting in my own personal life, a lot of challenges, but also I think I was really heartbroken in my professional life, in my artistry. One of the things I've said is I feel like at that stage I couldn't see all that I had accomplished in the shadow of all that I hadn't. And people who come to be actors in LA we're swinging high, we're like going to the Olympics. Like this is the place to really hit those heights. And so even the successes that I had created they paled in comparison to some of the people that we see around. And so that really led to a breakdown to a breakthrough of self-reflection and just feeling like I either need to do something different or I need to do this differently, because I think how I'm treating myself, the stories I'm telling about myself about me, are hurting me. And I don't want to lose who I am. I don't want to lose my soul in this. And so that really inspired me to slow down, to do some therapy. I got into Al-Anon. I got into a new kind of spiritual way of being. And blessedly, in that time, I discovered life coaching. I had done just a smidge of coaching before that I really liked, but it wasn't really helpful. Like I was like, this is fun, but it's not really changing my life or how I'm going about my goals or how I'm relating to myself. And about 2017 or so, I found someone that just their work just seemed like, oh, wait, hold on, wait, what? Specifically that our thoughts create our feelings, which is sort of based in cognitive behavioral therapy. But when, as a very emotional actor, I realized that my thoughts were at the core of how I was feeling, how I was acting, and what results I was getting, I was like, oh my gosh, I can do something about this. And I really began to slow down and examine what are the thoughts that are kind of running the show, and put that work into my own life, and got really inspired. And I was like, oh, I kind of love this. I kind of like this as much as I like acting, and coaching would maybe be a way to create a little bit more financial stability in a world where I'm, you never know where you're going to get your next job. And so during COVID, I launched Work of Art Coaching. It was like, I'm putting a stake in the sand. Now I'm going to start offering what has helped me and supported me. Because through that work, I was able to create, the wins that I never had before. Creating $100,000 in a calendar year. I'd never done that in my life. I don't think my family had done that. Creating, new relationships with reps and some bookings. One year I decided I wanted to book 5 guest stars, and I'd never booked 1 guest star. And it took longer than I planned, and it was still right in that middle of it was 2020. So even with the shutdown, over the course of the next year and a half, 2 years, I got those 5 guest stars. So it's like I was putting things into practice while also then offering support to pretty incredible people. So Work of Art Coaching really is an opportunity for me to support people with really big lives. That could be corporate professionals, parents, artists and creatives who feel that they're on a threshold, that they're ready for something more, but they're also ready to be aligned in their own lives while they do it. And we slow down to give space for their vision, release shame and regret, and move forward in ways that feel like they're the works of art, that their whole life can be a work of art, so that they're really feeling their successes and creating their successes while being in their sort of truest selves. So that's my coaching work, a little bit of my acting work, and I'm myself a new-ish mom. So I have a 3-year-old, and I'm kind of learning how to braid or juggle all of these, and every day is an experiment.
What an amazing way to sum it up to start with, and all these different arenas of your life that we can potentially explore here, and some of these questions that are coming up. But first, let me hit the reset button for those who've never seen a Take the Doughnut interview before, because you probably don't know what's going on right now.
What is going on?
Let me tell you what Take the Doughnut is about. It's an expression for me that means the same thing as carpe diem. It's all about going after the things that you want in life. And it comes from this very strange thing that happened to me in college, where I left an actual donut on a table, but it became an object lesson for me and what it looks like to leave opportunities behind. So I don't want to do that anymore. I want to take the donut. So this conversation is actually all about going after what you want, going after goals and opportunities, and what that actually looks like for us, practically speaking, when we go to do it, because it's a little different for everybody. So with that in mind, Lynn, I want to ask you this. How are you with going after goals? What's that process like for you?
Oh, girl, how long you got, right? If I could take my relationship with going after goals to couples therapy, I would. And I think I kind of have, honestly, in the last 5 years. I would say 5 or more, actually, years. It feels like that has been one of my biggest journeys. I think I have big dreams, and I think I know I'm very creative. And there is also a part of me that clenches up, or gets distracted, or stays small, or is afraid. Like, I think that my relationship with fear and my relationship with goals or dreams are just completely, they have been, right? And I've learned how to kind of go, whew, and take care of the fear and not let the fear be like, I like what Elizabeth Gilbert talks about, like, fear, you are welcome to come on this journey, but you are not going to be in the driver's seat. And so I think that there were times when I wouldn't even start if it wasn't going to be great, right? Like, maybe that is a pattern of perfectionism, or just letting fear be that marker. Or times where I really needed more support, or I needed a teammate to kind of, I have my skills and my strengths, and then someone else has their skills and their strengths, and it's not all on my own shoulders. Or like, I've needed new tools of like slowing down to be able to be like, what is this fear? What is it? Be with it, talk to it, learn from it. How's it coming out in my life? So I feel like in the last 10 or so years of working with giving myself permission to want the thing I want, and have authority over my own life and my own desire, and like saying my desires are good, re-owning that, reclaiming that, and then activating like, oh wait, I could do this. This is mine to do. I think about one of the first biggest projects that I did. I had maybe produced some like sketches, or I was a little bit like I don't want to have to do that, kind of as a creative person. So just hire me and I'll do it. But one of the biggest projects I took on was adapting a book into a play. I got the rights to adapt a book, and I had so much fear to even ask for that I ended up getting extremely sick. I had mono for 2 weeks without it being diagnosed, and I was literally like, well, if I'm gonna die, I might as well ask for the rights. What's she gonna say? No. And I reached out and I got this yes, and then over the course of 3 or so years was able to work with a team of people who believed and supported me so that I could feel scared in this new thing, but know that I was taken care of and loved in it. And then, in the last few years of like being like, I'm actually going to set an impossible goal for myself. I'm going to do that over the course of one whole calendar year so that I'm not getting distracted. I'm not getting in the weeds, and I'm not going like, what was my New Year's resolution? I don't remember. I'm going to choose something so big and so impossible, and I'm going to say that it's impossible so that the part of my brain that's going to be like, but that's impossible. I go, yeah, I know. It's impossible. It's a possible goal. That's why I called it impossible goal. And that voice just kind of goes, oh, okay, well, good luck. Sort of calms it down. But those big swings, some of them have come to fruition. Like I said, I want to make $100,000 this year. And 2 years in a row, I was able to do that through coaching and acting because of those are the places where I am a CEO in both of those roles. Or like, something like booking an acting job. I can't like make it happen, but I can open myself up and I can hold for myself in such a way that that can come in, that I can partner with life to make that happen. And then I think, to just be kind to myself, to not feel like I'm behind when I wake up in the morning, to have a practice of like self-compassion of when I do have a biff, like a hard biff, biff that one, or fail, to be able to come back to myself. So that's not necessarily a goal, but it is a desire. And I think just to kind of sum it up, I'm actually calling goals aims now. And that feels really healing. To say, I'm aiming for this, and life might have something different for me. It might take a different path than I think, but this is my clear like lighthouse way out in the distance that I'm like, I'm going to take my little rowboat and I'm not going to lose that aim. Just feels more gentle. I think I had some baggage around goals or making them or not. So long-winded answer.
No, but this is good. And I love the new terminology that you added to that there. I think I like the idea of the creativity and the flexibility that comes with that, and sort of the instead of being tunnel vision, it's like, well, I might be seeing other opportunities come my way along this process that I don't want to miss because I was really focused in on that goal. So I don't know, that seems like a really nice way to look at it.
And I have a little bit of an example of that. Can I share something specific? Because sometimes it's helpful to be in specifics. I had something like an earnings goal or desire to create income for myself during a season where I had just had my daughter and was not able to be, as full-time flexibility as I had before. I was learning how to be a mom and take care of her. And also it was during the SAG strikes. So there wasn't a lot of active work happening. And I still wanted to kind of create enough money for our family to live. And there were two things that occurred that were money that I wasn't expecting. It wasn't like a coaching proposal that was somebody said yes to, or an acting job. But I was able to apply for paid, parental leave and work out some of the red tape of that, and got a significant chunk for us to be able to work with. And at that same time, we got renovicted from our apartment. So we had to find a new apartment because the new owner was renovating. And it happened right after the COVID moratoriums for renters. And it ended up being that our city put aside, a lot of people got evicted because of this. And people went to the city council and said like, hey, this is not cool. And they also said, yeah, this is not cool. And we were able to apply for and get a chunk of money through that. So it was nearly $20,000 of support that came from a way I never could have said. And so it was like the aim was, hit some money goals, provide for my family, figure out how to do this in my new motherhood, and how life kind of came to support me and offer that. I had to do the groundwork. We had to show up for it. We had to go through the red tape. We had to, do the proving, but then we had that I got access to it. So it's just a kind of a cool example of that being an aim versus a goal.
What a perfect example. And the opportunity there came in the form of paperwork, but there it is.
Exactly. We had to physically, and this is for anyone who does paid parental leave, whatever I had said on the initial thing got flagged because I think that's just insurance companies and these kinds of things. They just flag things and then we just go, I give up, whatever. But we had to physically go into an office to get on the phone with someone because the phone lines are impossible. So it was the last morning of this opportunity, and I was like, I don't know, do we even go? And my husband was like, we just go, we just figured it out. And then I left. I was like, I think it got worked out. So and then we had, we knew we had neighbors that didn't end up putting in that paperwork and didn't get the what we were able to get. So yeah, and I'm talking about numbers and I'm talking about finances just because it's okay to talk about money, especially for women, especially for entrepreneurs, especially for creatives. Like, having that as a legitimate goal was something that really freed me from some of my scarcity mentality, and just being free to kind of like share the real numbers. So that's just part of it.
Thank you for doing that. Okay, so just for sake of transparency to those who are listening, I know that there was a little bit of an audio issue that we were having when Lynn was talking. So we've been playing around behind the scenes with some different setups, and we're going to continue with the conversation because there's a lot of cool stuff ahead here. But Lynn, so when I know that your journey with goals or aims has evolved quite a lot over the years. When you're going after something that feels like a really far off point, or something that feels really big, or that it's going to take a lot of time, what keeps you motivated?
That's a great question. Kind of big picture, kind of zoom out, I think it's desire. It's permission to desire the thing I want. I love an interview with Marie Forleo and a woman named Mama Gina, who are both sort of empowerment business women. And Mama Gina talks about going for what you want from that place of desire, and in some ways bypassing the siren call of the how, because we can get so locked into the, well, what do I need to do, and just kind of lose the how is not going to keep us going. That like love, that want is the desire. I'm thinking about kind of a bigger goal that I have had for a little while and have currently is just a really incredible, like a wonderful manager in my acting career, and knowing that when the stars align, when the time is right, the opportunities that we'll be able to create together, the way that we interact as partners, as teammates, like that there isn't any feeling of, I think sometimes actors fall into this like, well, my reps and they're the ones that know everything and I have to, it's like, no, like we're equal to each other, but also playing at this level where the opportunities are so aligned and so fun and so full, and that I can be in collaboration. And that's something that I've gone after a couple different times in really significant ways, and reached out to, a big swing, but then gotten great feedback of like, we're not the right match, but I see this and this in you. And so even taking a no as a win, like really doing this translation in my brain to be like, woohoo, they said no, cool. And using that as momentum to keep moving forward. So those two things. I think the last piece would be support, is making sure that I have whatever I might need in that season. Maybe it's just a friend to check in with and to share how it's going. Maybe it is a container with my own coach, or a really specific way that I'm working with somebody who is a mentor or an advisor, or like just somebody to help me hold for myself. Like, did you do the things you said you were going to do this week? And then just the emotional support, that it does take energy to be brave. It takes emotional energy. And if we're always, I think that's one of the things that happened in that kind of 10 years moving up to my kind of breakdown, was like, I was putting out a lot of emotional energy and getting a lot of no's, but like, no problem, keep going, no problem, keep going. And eventually I think it caught up to me. So now it's like, whoo, big, brave thing. Come back, reset, make sure I'm being taken care of, acknowledge myself for the courage that it took. Kind of having it be almost a sustainable practice. If at any point, if I'm not getting clear on what I want, if I'm not going for it, or if I'm not taking care of myself once I've gone for it, then I don't think the wheel can keep moving. But if I'm clear, if I take action, and if I take care of myself in different ways, I think that is kind of keeping it moving nice and slow.
Well said. So when you go after something and there's a lot of evolution in this process for you, I can hear.
Yeah.
So when you're working on something, you're working towards something, and I often find that challenges come up along that way. For you, is there a particular brand of challenge that just seems to keep coming up over and over and over again? Like no matter what it is you're doing in your life, maybe any of these arenas that we've been talking about, you can kind of expect this type of challenge to rear its head.
Yeah.
What is it for you?
Interesting. I really like that question. It's a hard question, but
Yeah.
I really like it. I think the couple of themes, is, well, challenges in general. It's like, first off, I'm in a delusion if I'm not expecting them. Because when we're like, oh no, this challenge came up, it's like, yeah, duh. Right. And so being in kind of a, instead of being on my heels, being like, yeah, okay, there's going to be challenges. That's one part that's helpful. But specifically for me, I think that there's kind of two, and they're probably related. They're probably interrelated. One is growing up in a family where real and perceived scarcity was a reality for us. Um, there is a lot of healing, kind of layers of the onion, right? Like there's been a lot of work that I've done around my relationship with abundance, possibility, finances, resources. Um, and then I think that that also relates to it. The second theme that comes up is sort of placing myself in the hierarchy. Where am I in the hierarchy of this? How empowered am I or disempowered? Who's better, who's worse? Like I know I can play. It probably is a comparison game, but it feels a little bit like status, right? Like I'm aware of that status. And so I think that does, there's a financial part of that, but then there's also that internal piece. And I would actually even just call it out that this is a word that has been really helpful for me to do, which is called under earning. And there's some really great resources. I love Barbara Stanley Houston's book called Overcoming Under Earning, because under earning can express itself in a financial way, but it is really about under being, of like really not owning your specificness, your value, your worth, all of those kind of enoughness, all of those kind of internal pieces, but it can be expressed in the financial part. And there's like millionaires who might be under earning, right? Because it's what they desire and what they are capable of doing. And then there's also people who are just making it through the week and aren't under earning because they're making what they want and they're reaching their capacity. So that I would say for me those are some of the challenges that tend to have. I can hear myself be like, oh, I'd love to have that, but I can't afford it. But I've also healed from that in so many ways because I've been investing in my own coaching for the last 5 years at, probably I'm getting close to investing in myself at the $100,000 level of, and all the investment it takes to be an actor to it, because you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur and you have to invest in that. So I have a lot of data that I can be creative, that I can create the resources, that I can offer proposals that people say yes, that I can earn. And then there's that old voice that says, well, I couldn't do that. Just recently I met a stylist and I was like, oh, that would be so fun to like get styled. Oh, but I don't want to pay for it. I'm like, I could pay for it if I want to. So I'm definitely in relationship with that. And then also just holding myself and seeing myself as equal to, as being like a valued collaborator. It can be like, oh, they're better because they have this, or oh, they're scary because they're loud, but they're in charge. It's like, whoa, no, I'm capable. I can do that. So that's, I think, it's my birthday this week also. So as a solidly in my 40s woman, I feel like this is the right challenge that I'm facing head on, and really believing that I can use anything for my healing, growth, and upliftment.
Mm.
And that's like a mantra that my coaches offered to me that I offer to my clients. And it's not one that is necessarily an easy pill to swallow, especially at the beginning of like tasting that. But I think as I've owned, like I can be in that seat of authority and I can use whatever comes at me as like, how could this be for me? If I'm willing to process the emotions and be in my petulantness and why is this happening? And then when I come back to, how is this for me? What is this inviting me into? How is this inviting me to be better? We can use anything. Um, and I shared with you earlier that like I had a very significant loss in my family last year. And it's really important to create space for the grief. And it's also really okay to allow it to continue to offer me, how do I want to use this to become the next version of myself? How do I want to heal from old patterns, old misbeliefs, old perceptions? So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry for your loss, and also happy
Thanks.
birthday coming
I
up
know,
as well.
right?
I mean, we're just rolling all of it together into one thing, which I think
Yes,
is what happens in life
yes,
sometimes.
that's really true.
When you think back on your life to this point, and this could be a personal or professional answer, whatever comes up for you, what would you say is the biggest donut you've ever taken? Biggest opportunity you've said yes to, biggest thing you've gone after?
Hmm. Wow, the biggest one. Well, two things come to mind. Three things ish, but moving to LA from Indiana, it didn't feel like the biggest donut because I was so like, duh, I'm doing this. But now, 20 years later, I'm like, shoot, I put 200 pounds of luggage on an airplane and was like, I'm here. So that's a pretty bold. It gives me information about who I am and how I'm being. But I would say the more conscious and more recent biggest donuts of my life would be setting that $100,000 goal and following through over the course of an entire year and getting creative and savvy and breaking down and being sad and being scared and feeling all of the emotions that come up with putting a stake in the sand for myself. I think that's actually one of the best parts of goals or aims is who are we becoming in the going after it. And I had to really release a lot of old stories, a lot of misbeliefs about myself. I had to step into a lot of courage. I had to hold professionally for myself in a way that I never had before, and also believe that what I had to offer was of value. And then about halfway through the year, I said to my coach, like, it's not happening. Like, I'm nowhere near that in my coaching. And she goes, well, do you want to, change the timeline, change the number, or maybe you want to count your acting and your coaching earnings? And I thought, oh, that sounds fun. Oh, I'm much closer at this point. And getting to the end of that year, I was still like a thousand-ish dollars, maybe two or something like that, under my goal. I'd gotten to, I don't know, 97 or something. And I was at a place in coaching where it just wouldn't have been appropriate to propose to anyone that I was serving and nourishing. And I was like, well, it's got to come in from acting. Like, I did what I could do. And I always also felt like, well, if I don't get it, then am I bad or am I wrong? And it's like, even that was part to kind of heal from and be like, I got to love myself. At 97 is incredible if I've never done anything near there. And sure enough, a couple acting checks came in the mail, and I was able to like run through that finish line in about the 104. And then I did it the next year too. And then I had my child, and so that has shifted. But I also went to more part time, and so I would say just like giving myself permission to put a financial goal on the books and go for it. That was huge. And then choosing into the journey of whatever it would look like to become a parent while also still fully being committed in my acting career and holding my coaching business as well. And so as my husband and I kind of came to the point, so we were married for a very long time before we even started trying. And then even trying, we were like, we don't know how this is going to go. Um, and it did take us some time to get pregnant. We did have a miscarriage, and I share that because it's so common and we don't always talk about it. For me, it was very early on, and it was profound but not devastating. That was my personal experience. But for so many people, it's just a very real part. It's like 1 in 4, 1 in 5, sometimes maybe even less. Um, and so, really, like, you just sign up as, hey, we're going to try and do this parent thing. And then throughout the pregnancy, with the ups and downs that occurred there, and then having my daughter incorporating this new identity into my life and heart, and just physically time, like, where do we do all the things? And trusting that we'd figure it out, that we're going to be taken care of. We're going to figure it out together, and that it's good. So, and it has been really, really challenging in certain ways, but like, oh, I'm so glad that
Hmm.
for us, I'm so glad that we were willing to be in the risk of we don't know. We knew the challenges, but we didn't know the joys, and now we're getting to experience the joys. So
Hmm.
those two things.
What a beautiful mix of different parts of your life those come from. So, is there a donut that you're taking right now? What's in progress for you?
Oh, you're so cute. I am a coach who sometimes forgets to have goals, and that's just honest. um, but it's also that I am really in an intense season of motherhood. I call it full what's football, full impact, full contact.
Oh yeah.
I call it full contact parenting. That wasn't necessarily our approach or our design, but we have been very full-time parenting in the midst of all the rest of our lives. My husband is also an actor, and so he has that like get an audition flexibility need thing. I have that get the audition, who knows. But our daughter did just start preschool, and so I'll probably have a really solid answer for you in a couple of weeks. And also we're walking through the calendar year of the passing of my dad. And so I would say my aim or my goal or my donut right now is to just be really in trust, to be really in gentleness, to be making sure that I'm taking action where it's mine to take, giving myself permission to not take action when my body needs a reset. Like yesterday, I made some lunch for myself. I was going to eat, going to do some more work, and I just felt my nervous system buzzing. And what I needed to do in that moment was just let myself breathe. And it ended up being about 45 minutes, and I didn't get the work that I thought I was going to do done. And my job is to trust that that's what I needed to be able to do this work sustainably. So I do have a couple donuts. I'd really like to book a cool acting job in the next year. I still have that manager kind of dream and goal. And kind of knowing that they're on the stovetop, but the highest burn right now is establishing a new rhythm with our family, with my daughter starting school, taking care of myself in this September month, serving my clients as best I can, and kind of going slow, but and gently, which I think is revolutionary, honestly, in this very productivity at all costs sort of environment that we live in. So,
Well said. Well, there may be people who are watching this
yeah,
who have a donut of their own they want to take. It could be like for you, it could be sort of an ideation phase of it right now, or it could be that they've started on the path and they're looking for some inspiration to keep moving forward. So let's sprinkle some encouragement. And what would you say to those people?
yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say it because that really makes me think about kind of the kind of people that I sometimes serve as my clients, or people that are curious and reach out and want some that support. And so everybody's so different, but we're all humans, right? And so my personal brand is such a silly word, but like what I like to do and what I think, if I was going to offer very specific advice to people who have their own donut, whether they're thinking about it or like really clear, is loving yourself into your future, loving yourself into the process, loving yourself as a means of calling in that thing that you desire on the outside. Because so often we want something because we think getting it is going to change how we feel. And what we actually want is that experience or that feeling. But that sometimes means we can be chasing a goal or moving the goalpost kind of thing. Like, once I get my first co-star, once I launch my company, once I have my child, then I'll feel like I've succeeded, like I am good enough, like I'm worthy. Then we get there and we do that thing. But if we don't do the inner work, it's like, okay, well, that isn't filling me up. So no, it's when I hit this number, or what's a guest star, or when we go public, or when I'm my second child, right? Like, so I think my encouragement would be that there is always powerful inner work that can be done as a means to open up the portal for that outer goal to come to fruition. And so it seems counterintuitive, but slow down. Slow down on the inside. Slow down doesn't mean, I used to joke, I'm like, oh no, I am so good at slowing down, I will just stop. But it doesn't mean that as much as it means like taking space for the you that's on the inside. I think we talk about self-care a lot, but I'm clearer and clearer that what we mean is soul care. And that's not going to look like getting your nails. That's going to look like tending to the inner places. And so maybe that looks like journaling. Maybe that looks like committing to a artist date with yourself where you just do 5 minutes of work. Sometimes that means really lowering the bar of your expectations of what is possible in the short term. And sometimes that means giving yourself an actual, like actually being on your team. Like that's the question I would ask. Like, am I on my own side with this? Do I do I do am I hearing a voice that's tearing me down every time I start going for this thing? Because until we kind of work with that voice is going to be loud at every milestone. So I think it's like stop, turn around, look at the scary shadow, and be like, "What's up? Talk to me." That was 7 pieces of encouragement. Is that helpful?
That was great. And I think there was a lot of connection between those things. And there are some themes that you were playing with there that I think if people resonate with one of them, they'll resonate with most of them. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was really well said, and some new ways to think about some of those concepts as well. That was helpful for
yeah.
me. For those who want to follow you on your journey, who want to
Yeah,
see what's going on for you, where can they find you? What link should I put in the description?
sure. Acting wise in my personal life, Lynn Downey Braswell on Instagram. In my professional coaching life, workofartcoaching.com, or email me. Just I'd love to hear from anyone. If any of this resonates, I would really love just to hear what specifically resonated. Theworkofartcoaching@gmail.com. I never assume I'm the right coach for someone or that now is the right time, but one of the best ways that I serve in the world is by creating space for conversations with really anyone who feels that they're at that threshold. And we often find the the coach that like it just feels right. And so if any of this is resonating with any of your listeners, just know that if there is a threshold that you're looking to walk through, I'm definitely open to getting to know you and hear where you are. And I might have a resource, or I might have a referral, um, and or we might end up getting to partner together on that. On Instagram, I am work.of.art.coaching. And the reason is that when you say work of art, it looks like
It
work
sure
so
does.
fart. It really does. It really does. And I'm okay with that. I am okay with that because we can laugh. We have to laugh at
Yeah.
ourselves in the process.
At least you gave it some serious thought
I
before you
did. I
launched.
said, you
That's
know what?
always the good news.
I said, yeah, I would say my best friend and my college roommate, they'd say work oh fart coaching. That tracks for me.
Yeah. Apostrophe fart. Yeah, that's you know what? You planned ahead. You thought about your
Oh, I
goals and
did.
you thought, what do I need to watch out for here? Are there
I said,
pitfalls? And that
I
was
said,
it.
I said, take the fart. You know what I mean? Take the
Yeah.
fart.
That's it.
If somebody
Oh,
doesn't like it or it needs to be tidy for them, yeah, we may not the right, we're not the right mix. Although, you did just give me an idea. I mean, I am Irish, so I could be art coaching.
that would be perfect. And that's the logo with the
Oh,
arm up right there.
oh,
It's
and then the
like,
hat
is
and
it
me
Rosie
lucky
the
charms.
Riveter or is it Work of Art Coaching?
Oh, the lucky, the little Irish guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, everybody be sure to check out those resources, those links that are in the description that Lynn just talked about. And if you liked hearing Lynn's story, be sure to like and subscribe on this video because there's so many inspirational interviews still to come. But in the meantime, Lynn, thank you so much for taking all this time and for sharing your thoughts and for sharing your wisdom with all of us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm filled up.
And yeah, and to everybody who's watching this, thank you for watching. And Lynn's going to finish off that donut, and you go out there, you get inspiration, and you get donuts.
Mm,
Bye.
bye.